things about fishing is the unexpected catch, and many times your best catches are totally unexpected. Although I always head out on the kayak with the target species in mind, gear up and adopt the tactics required for that species, I also have gear on board to take advantage of any unexpected situations. This video is about one of those trips where, thanks to the fish finder, an unexpected opportunity presented itself and the initial target species became secondary. I set out for the following trip with turbot as the initial target, and the video is played out as it was with that in mind. I'm just heading on down to the south coast of Cornwall to launch the kayak, and the fish I'll be targeting today is considered one of the finest fish that the rod and line angler can catch, and it's certainly one of the finest fish that I fish for, and that's turbot. If I can catch at least one turbot per season that's over the legal minimum size limit, I consider it a real treat for the dinner table. They are absolutely delicious to eat. So I'm going to be fishing the whole of the flooding tide. I'm hoping to launch to catch the start of the flood, fish the flooding tide, and I'm going to be drifting over a clean sandy bottom with bait on the bottom. Hopefully, if I can get the drift right, and having two rods out. Now, turbot are known to like sandbanks. Now, the ground I'm fishing over, although it's a sandy bottom, there are no sandbanks. But what there are little areas where there's troughs. In other words, it's not strictly a flat sandy seabed, it's a little bit bumpy with troughs. Therefore, places for the turbot to sit and hide, waiting to ambush its prey. And with a bit of luck, if I drift over these particular areas, I may hopefully pick up one. Now, of course, when I'm drifting with bait on the bottom, turbot is not the only fish that I might catch. I may catch plaice, which of course will also be a very, very welcome catch. You could also, of course, pick up the nuisance catch dogfish, which won't be so welcome. But to be honest, you never really know what you might pick up when you're drifting with bait on the bottom. But I'm going to gear myself up for turbot. So once I'm down there and I've got myself set up, I'll have a look at the tackle I'm going to be using. Tackle I'm going to be using, I've got two rods that are basically the same. I've got a 7'6", 12 to 20 pound boat rod with Abu 6,500C multipliers loaded with 15 pound mono and a 30 pound leader, which is twice the length of the rod. Got a boom there. This is a running ledger, a boom, and I'm just going to attach about a 2 ounce weight to that. And then the business end, I've got a trace which is about 4 or 5 foot long, and just before the hook I've got an attractor spoon tied. It's an inline spoon, so rather than rotating, what it's going to do, it will just flutter in the tide, and hopefully that'll be an added attraction for the turbot. And of course, plaice will be attracted to this as well. So that's an attractor spoon. It's an inline spoon, so it's tied one end on a swivel, and then the hook link is just tied to the other end of the spoon. And I've got about 12 inches to 14 inches, and this is 30 pound fluorocarbon. And as an additional attractor, I've got just a few beads there just above the hook, and a size 1/0 hook. So it's identical tackle on the other rod, the only difference being the spoon on the other rod is silver. So I've got different coloured spoons. And what I'm going to do when I start the drift, just lower this down to the bottom and then let out a lot of line so it's well away from the kayak. And of course this will get dragged along the bottom, and the lead will kick up the sand as it's dragged along the bottom, and the spoon will just flutter in the tide. And as I said, hopefully we can pick up a turbot. Okay, so that's the tackle. So now what I've got to do, I've just got to paddle to my mark where I want to set up the drift and deploy the drift chute. And what the drift chute will do, that will keep my bow into the breeze. It's just a light breeze today, but as you can see at the moment I'm just drifting without the drift chute and I'm turned broadside on. But if I have the drift chute out, what it will do, it will turn the bow of the kayak into this swell here, and I can have one rod one side in one rod holder and one rod the other side in the other rod holder, and the lines will drift out in front of me and keep well apart. Whereas if I didn't have the drift chute, what will happen is I'd have to fish two rods on one side of the kayak. If I try to fish one rod one side and one rod the other, of course one of the rods, the line is going to cross under the kayak and it's going to be a bit awkward. So the drift chute is a great asset, and if you've seen my video using the drift chute when fishing on a kayak, you'll see I go through this. Right, so that's the tackle. So I'm going to just paddle to where I want to start the drift, and we'll have a look at deploying the drift chute. Okay, I'm at my mark where I want to set up my first drift and just stop paddling, and of course what will happen now, the kayak will turn broadside, but I want to keep it in this position, actually facing the swell. Like I said earlier, it's making it much easier for me to fish with two rods, and also it's going to slow me down. I don't want to be drifting too quickly. Right, so got the drift chute, got it attached to the anchor trolley there, and you can see the kayak starting to swing round now, broadside. So I'm going to deploy the drift chute and then manoeuvre it using the anchor trolley to the bow of the kayak, and that will slowly open. It's starting to open already. And what will happen now, the kayak is swinging back now into the swell. Okay, so it's swung, almost swung right round now. That's brilliant. So now I'm facing the swell, but like I said, I can now have one rod on one side of the kayak, one rod on the other, and both lines will go out away from me and stay well apart without crossing and will not cross the kayak, making it all awkward. Just baiting up now. Like I said earlier, I've got my attractor spoon there. I've got the extra little beads on the little hook length, and I've just got a fillet of launce. I'm just going to nick the hook on the end, and basically that's it. And that, hopefully, with the attraction of the spoon, the attraction of the beads, and the attraction of this long thin strip of launce, will flutter in the tide and attract a flatty, and hopefully that flatty will be a turbot. Got my lead there. It's just a couple of ounces, and it's one of these leads. I can't remember what they're called at the moment, but it's one of these leads, these little bumps here, and that will be, rather than a plain lead, you can use a plain lead, it will still kick up the sand, but these will kick up the sand a little bit more, and again, hopefully as an added attraction to the turbot. Right, first rod's down. I'm down on the bottom, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to just let out, as I slowly drift backwards, I'm going to let out plenty of slack, so rather than the line running vertical, it's going to run away at an angle. It will keep the bait well away from the kayak, and just get dragged along the bottom by the drifting of the kayak. Right, so both rods are out now, and hopefully you can see there, you can see the angle of the line, and with me positioned nicely into the swell rather than being broadside. So I've got the one rod going out nicely there, and the other rod with again the line going out away from me, and both lines are being kept well apart. So what I've got to do now is sit back and drift along here with the lead and the bait dragging along the bottom and hope for a bite. But what I'm going to do now is see if I can jig up a few fresh mackerel, which at this time of year, it's August, towards the end of August, shouldn't be a problem. There'll be plenty of mackerel around, so shouldn't have any problem getting some fresh bait. Well, I didn't think it would take me very long to pick up some fresh mackerel. They've been a bit slow coming this year, but there's plenty around at the moment, and that's great. So we've got some nice bit of fresh bait, which could make the difference between a turbot or a place than not. Just taking a look at how I'm going to bait up this lovely freshly caught mackerel. I'm just going to take a fillet off the side. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut that fillet down lengthways. So what we'll end up is a nice long fillet of mackerel. And there you have a nice lovely long fillet from the belly section of a mackerel. It's a great bait, fresh mackerel for turbot. Here, all caught placed this way. Excellent bait, and always of course better if you can get fresh bait. Frozen bait like the frozen launce is fine, and it will work, but of course if you can get fresh bait, that's even better. And what I'm going to do to bait up this lovely fillet, long thin fillet of fresh mackerel, is basically the same as I did the launce. I'm just going to nick it on the end there, so that it flutters nicely in the tide. Quite an interesting subject about fish finders. Many people say that mackerel, I mentioned that I will hopefully jig up a few mackerel to get fresh bait, that they don't show up as fish on the fish finder. Well, all I can say is about this fish finder, this is a Garmin fish finder, coloured fish finder, and I've set the colour, the background as blue, and basically how it works, blue is the weakest return, yellow is the next, and red is the strongest return. And if you can see there, that patch there that's got some yellow and red just going by there, that's mackerel. And herring, if you get a shoal of herring would show up the same. And if you get a shoal of launce or sand eels, they'll show as a yellow patch, and depending on the density of the shoal, there might be a little bit of red in there. But as far as I'm concerned, mackerel definitely do show up. I mean, they don't show up as arches, they show up as patches, and you can tell the density by the colours. Obviously that little shoal has gone over now, but and there's another one coming through there, and I'm going to try and prove to you. So I'm just going to take the camera now. I'm going to lower the jig down amongst that and prove to you that is mackerel. And almost immediately I saw the lure go down. Again, I can see it actually going down to the mackerel. It shows the lure going down, so I can judge when to stop to make sure that I'm jigging amongst the mackerel. And there you go. So I'm going to put this one back. I've got plenty of mackerel. Again there, if you look there, great patches there coming through. I mean, again, that could be, there's a bit more yellow there in those patches. I mean, that might actually be sand eels or lawns. But I find the fish finder a real asset. I mean, when there's loads of mackerel around at the moment, sure, you don't need it at all. But when mackerel are a bit scarce and you're trying to pick a few up, it saves an awful lot of wasted time jigging when there's nothing down there. And as you can see there's some absolutely masses of mackerel coming through there. You know, I don't want them. I only wanted a few for bait. But if I wanted them, I could pick up loads. But at the moment, I just wanted a few for bait. But there you go. Fish finders are not just for the depth of the water and the structure on the bottom. They do locate fish, and they are a great asset. Well, here's an example of what a great asset a fish finder is. Although I'm drifting on the bottom and I'm targeting turbot, flatfish, just saw absolutely massive shoal of something right down the bottom. So I've lowered my jigging rig down, and I've got something here, and that something is not mackerel. This is a big shoal showing down the bottom. Now, it might be pollock. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's certainly taking some line. Now, without a fish finder, I'm out here targeting flatties. I would not have seen that. I would not have bothered lowering this jig down. I've got this jigging rig set up just for picking up a few bait with mackerel. But whatever it is down there, there's a mass of them, and it feels like a decent fish. It's coming up. It's coming up now. And it's quite a. I'm just wondering if it. Dared I say it? Could it be cod? Could it be cod? Yeah, it's taking line again now. Okay, I'm almost onto the leader. In fact, I've got more than one on here because it's a mackerel. And do you know what? I think it is. I think it is cod. I think it's cod. It is cod. A double. It is cod. Or codling, should I say? Not huge cod, but there was. Well, only a small little codling, which I'm going to return. Obviously we have a legal size limit down here in Cornwall of 35 centimetres. But that one's, although it's on 35 centimetres, it's too small. So I'm going to put that one back. Hopefully it'll. Nice codling there. Well, after catching those cod, unexpected cod, just shows the wonderful thing about fishing. Sometimes it's the unexpected. You set out to target one fish and something happens unexpected and you end up catching something else. However, so I've paddled back in and reset my drift, still targeting turbot. But what I've done, just in case I come across a shoal of cod again, I've set up, what I caught them on was basically my mackerel fishing gear. But what I've done, I've set up a jig, a speed jig, with just a little sand eel flyer there. So if I am lucky enough to pass over that shoal of cod again, I'll lower this down and hopefully maybe pick up a bigger cod if there are any down there. I came across another shoal down on the bottom, and I've lowered the jig down, so I'm not really sure what it is yet, but there's a big shoal of something down there, and it is codling. So we've got it's codling again. Not very big, but they're nice little codling. They're still showing down there, so I'm going to get back down again as quick as possible. And that's a good thing about having this speed jig, because it is possible to get down quickly. Yeah, and they're still showing down there. And we're in again. Yep, and this is cod. I can tell it's cod by the head banging. And this is either two small ones, or it's just a slightly bigger one. Doesn't feel like a big cod, but it could be a double. No, it's just the one little codling, but once again pretty pleasing. Pretty pleasing to pick up a nice little codling there. And that's caught on the flyer, which is fished about a couple of feet above the jig, and I've just got a sluggo on a weedless hook, and that's what both of those were caught on. And it's just a flyer fish with a drop shot knot, and a weedless hook. Well, as I said earlier, we got the there's always the unexpected catch when you're out fishing, and once again, this is thanks to the fish finder. Shoal of fish started showing on the bottom, and I was hoping it would be cod, but it turned out to be this beautiful gurnard. They're an absolutely wonderfully good looking fish. I mean, some would say they're ugly, but the colours on them are absolutely superb. And they're actually great eating. To think these for years had only been considered as pot bait, but they're absolutely wonderful eating, and a lovely looking fish. Unusual looking fish, but beautiful colours there. Personally, I love them, and again, they're a real treat to me for the dinner table. So this is very much a day as it often happens with fishing. Day of the unexpected. Set out to catch turbot, set up for flat fishing, and then the fish finder has proven a real asset with passing shoals of fish like the cod and now this gurnard. So hopefully carry on and see if I can catch a few more species. Unfortunately, my internal battery on the camera ran out, therefore I was unable to film any more. Although I had a few bites on the bait rods, I never managed to catch any flatties. However, did continue to find codling on the fish finder and caught more. Without the fish finder, I would never have known those codling were there, and for me it is a great asset. Compared to other parts of the country, Cornwall is not really known as an abundant inshore cod fishery. We are more known as a pollock fishery. Because of that, it is always pleasing to catch cod, which makes a pleasant change from pollock. And there are the occasional bigger cod to be had within reach from the kayak. The purpose of this video was to highlight the unexpected when fishing and the benefits of having a good fish finder on board, and I hope you found it useful. Many thanks for watching.